Recording in progress.
Well, Alice, thank you so much for agreeing to chat to us today. It's an absolute honour having you on the show, and I've got to say congratulations on this film. I've sat down to watch it, and I think this is such an important film, so congratulations.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me on your show.
So, Alice, tell us a little bit about where the idea came about for you for this film, because it was a film that you made very early on. You made it when you were 17 years old. Where did that idea come from for this film, and how did you develop it from there?
Well, I think because I'd done two other features first, so Van and Bad Guy Boogie, and the other, it's very queer films. Like the transness was more in the subtext or with specific characters, and I think moving forward onto my third project, I always think about what I want to do next, and I don't know what I would want to see in a film, and I knew that I just wanted to kind of center, transness and navigating, not just being trans in the world and not making a film about that, but just having that, I don't know, kind of be the main kind of guiding thing. And I think for me as well, with horror, I love to join genres together. I didn't just start to make a scary film or something like that. I'm very much inspired by Buffy, and it's kind of coming of age, emotional hangout film, friendships, kind of thrown in with the horror elements, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Buffy is a big influence on my writing as well. It was a show that I grew up with and absolutely loved it because I could identify with so many of the characters in it. Tell us a little bit about when you first sat down to work on this. It sounds like you had a fair idea what you wanted to do. How difficult was it to put that storyline and the important messages, though, into the horror genre? And how did you go about forming the horror side of this film?
Yes, I first sat down to write it. I wrote pretty much the opening scene, so that doesn't usually just happen. But that's pretty cool. And then I brought in my co-writer, and I think he brought a lot of the horror elements onto it, the worms design and stuff like that. I don't know. For me, the focus was I don't know, having the horror be so emerged with who the characters were. Whole thing is with the chasers and with the men that they encounter. I wanted it kind of be more of a social mindset that is obviously represented in the worm. So the horror came pretty easy.
So tell us a little bit about that next step to filming. How did you go about filming, putting together the cast and things like that? Because you put together a sensational cast. How did you go about putting that cast together?
Yes, some of the actors I'd used before. One of the lead actors, Lauren, she was from Sydney. We just had some mutual friends, and then she auditioned, and then she was really amazing in the role. Her and Louis, who plays the best friend, had never met until the first day of shooting. So I was really lucky that I had such good chemistry. In terms of filming, I used pretty much the same crew I did for Bad Guy Boogie, which we shot in February that year, and then while that was in post, I was writing this one, and then we shot this one in July, so it was a pretty small turnaround. But yeah, it was pretty much a lot of the same cast and crew I'd used before.
Of course, Lauren is an absolute star in this. So tell us a little bit about how you discovered Lauren. Did you go through a casting process as in auditions, or was Lauren someone that you'd seen in other films and wanted to use?
I think this is her first acting lead role since she transitioned, for sure. I came across her literally through my best friend, or one of my best friends in Sydney. They connected me with her, and I think we just started following each other, and we became friends first. And then when it came time to make this film, I wasn't really sure who was in the cast, and she just sent through a self tape, and then it's pretty much out.
Of course, one of the other characters that people are going to fall in love with as they watch this is Cryptessa. How did you get etc. involved with the film? Because it adds that extra element to this film.
Yeah, so she was in my very first film I made when I was 16, So and she when I was filming in Adelaide, she was on tour, and she just gave an hour of her time to film a quick thing for us. So I reached out to her because I knew I wanted her to be involved again, especially because she went to film school, and I know she had understood a lot of the references. So I reached out to her. She agreed to do it. I think I shot it in an hour and a half at the Imperial in Sydney when I was here for World Pride last year. And yeah, it's pretty great.
So this next question, I'd actually written it before I realized that Buffy was such a huge influence on you, but Josh Whedon as a writer very often in Buffy would use horror or a kind of character or a situation as a reference to real life. So there was an episode, of course, where Buffy is attacked by her stepfather, who happens to be a demon, or he's not even a stepfather yet, just a mom's boyfriend. And that was an allegory for sexual abuse from a mom's partner. Tell us a little bit about the script writing process for this, a little bit deeper about how you went about putting things like bigotry into this film, but having it there with a horror reference for the audience as well, because I think that is such an amazing screenplay that you've created here. Tell us a little bit about that journey and what that was like, because there's so much stuff that you tackle in this film and so important that this message gets out there, but you've done it in such a great way using horror as the tool to do that. So could you tell us a little bit in depth about the screenwriting process and how that all happened?
Yeah, thank you so much there. Yes, I mean, a lot of that elements, like when it comes to like transness and politicalness, I was able to just kind of like, take from, I don't know, the news or like my life or like my friends and community's life. When it came to like the horror elements, especially like why I chose for it to kind of be like worms and stuff like that, because I mentioned I did want it to be like very, I don't know, these young men have that kind of, I don't know, parasitic mindset and like toxicity where it like spreads to one another through like ideology and stuff, like there's a Jordan Peterson reference and stuff like that. So it kind of like, I don't know, it's their way of spreading things down, and I feel like visually, I don't know, I wanted something that was like sleazy and really like slimy and gross to kind of represent like these, I don't know, just gross men. So I don't know if like the worm was a great way to introduce that. I also wanted a little bit of like homoeroticism, especially when like they're sharing the worm, because like that toxic masculinity was like so extreme that like almost reverts like into like this campus. And yeah.
Was there, for you, that process of writing, was it difficult, or did you find getting this message across quite easy to write, or was it a difficult process sitting down to work on the script?
Well, I was lucky to have my co-writer Ben, who I've done all my projects with, but I think actually this is like the easiest script I've written. I think it was just like what I was most excited to tell at that time. I think it became very easy to both of us.
Now tell us about the shoot. How many days did the shoot go for, and what were the more difficult scenes that you found when you actually arrived on set to try and film?
So it was a 7-day shoot in the middle of Adelaide winter, which, there was like a lot more stuff that was supposed to be set outside, like the hangout stuff where we're doing like lines and like drinking and stuff. That was all supposed to be like at a park, but it was raining, so we couldn't do that, unfortunately. But it worked out a bit better, I think. In terms of different shoots, I don't know, it was pretty smooth mostly. I mean, there are times like where we'd be shooting late at night and it'd be really cold, and the costumes and the actors would have to like wear pants and stuff under the costumes and stuff like that. The breakdown scene for Sophie's character was pretty intense to film, but I think everyone came prepared and it was pretty smooth sailing.
This is your third feature, which is absolutely amazing given your age. Where do you hope to end up as a filmmaker? Like, are you looking to go to film school? Are you hoping to make that transition across to the US? What are your hopes for the future as a filmmaker?
I mean, honestly, just to keep doing what I'm doing and, hopefully with bigger budgets and kind of reaching audiences. I was really lucky to tour this film like Outburst and like Fantasia, which is like in America and Canada. So honestly, a lot of my films have been like more received in like international audiences, which I'm it's interesting, but I'm very lucky that that's happened already. And just keep kind of going from there, hopefully.
That was actually my next question. I wanted to ask you about going across to the film festivals. What was it like with T Blockers playing in those film festivals? Because you also picked up an award as well, which is amazing. So congratulations on that. But what was it like having the film showing at some of the biggest horror festivals in the world?
Yeah, I mean, thank you. It was pretty crazy. Like, when you submit a film, like, you don't really, I mean, at least for me, I'm always like, I go into the mindset that I won't get in because it's just kind of like, otherwise it's like months waiting. It's like, oh, for this one, like rejection, exception. But yeah, it was so surreal, especially with Alphas. Like that was like my dream festival. Like, some of my favorite films have like premiered there. So to be like accepted and like won over and then win an award, it was a really surreal experience. And I'm very grateful.
So what is your next project? Of course, as we mentioned before, this is your third feature. What are you working on now, and when might we expect to see that as well?
So I did Satanic Panic, which is kind of like, again, like Buffy meets Priscilla, Queen in the Desert, like a demon slaying kind of musical, campy road trip film. And that premiered at South by Sydney last year, and it's doing some festivals in America at the moment. And that should be out later this year. And then I also have a film in post at the moment. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Alice, I know we're fast running out of time and you've got other interviews to get to. So to finish off, what would you like to say to people out there before they sit down and watch T-Blockers for the first time?
I mean, thanks for choosing to watch the film. I think context is important. I think, it should be a standalone film, but also knowing that, like, I made it when I was 17 with, like, no money and 7 days in Adelaide. I think that's important. And yeah, I don't know. I just hope they enjoy the film and get something out of it.